So today has been one of those days where we've been getting a bit of life admin out of the way. So I've donated a bunch of stuff to the charity shops, and while we were there we had a little look around the charity shops. I also did some drawing in the cafe, so I will show you the sketches that I did, but I'm going to also show you my little charity shop haul because, you know, I've started that in the past, so I might as well carry it on. So first things first is this little wooden box for £2.99 from Zakopane, which apparently is a place in Poland. And this is going to be downstairs in the living room with our remote controls in, if you care. Then I got a couple of books. This one on the Enlightenment, this introducing series. I've had a couple of these in the past, and they're really good at just explaining it in very simple terms. So if you ever want to find something out and not be bogged down in like reading hundreds and hundreds of books, these books are pretty good. I've got loads in the series. I've had a few in the past. So yeah, the introducing series, that was £2.99 as well. Then I got this one, George, a Magpie memoir. I couldn't resist, mainly because I am a sucker for a book cover, and I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but look at that gorgeous cover. So that's a lino cut, and it is by Georgia Flowers. So I thought that was cool. So now I know the artist that that's from. But the story sounds great as well. So it's George is a magpie that appears in the life of a poet and painter, Frida Hughes. So it's like the story of George, which I thought, you know, let's find out about George. All of these things are really good inspiration, and you never know, they might spark something in my own brain. So you might think, well, what have these things got to do with an illustration channel? But if you only stay in the run of your own experience, the chances of you getting new ideas for things are, in my opinion, really reduced. So, you know, even if you're reading books and not just going places new, it's all good for expanding your brain and your experiences, because even if you experience things secondhand through someone else's narrative, you're still experiencing something. So I got those, but also talking about illustration, I got this little guy, which I don't know if that means anything to anyone. Allerton's, a little salt or pepper shaker. And I got this as a little character to practice drawing, and I will keep him in this cabinet here. And when I want to practice my drawing, as you probably know, I grab these little characters. If I've got nowhere to be and nothing to do and I want to practice drawing, I grab these little characters and get my big sketchbook out, and I just practice drawing these, both as they are and also making them do things like run and jump and climb. And it's all good practice for working your illustration muscles. So I've got him, and he was, where is his price tag? £3.99. But he's such a cute little dinky figure. I couldn't resist him. So let me set you up overhead and I will flick through some of the sketches that I did in the cafe this morning. So I'll show you what I did today. If you like looking through people's sketchbooks, then this is one of the rewards that I offer on my Patreon. On the £1 tier and above, you can look through all of my sketchbooks, my observational sketchbooks from the previous month to the one that you have signed up for. So let me see. Okay. So just some rough sketching. If you know me, you'll know that I do time sketching, which is basically just quick sketching, trying not to get bogged down in the detail. The more time I've got, the less life my work seems to have. So that's what I've done today. And I love a scribble. I love a scribble. So on the topic of loving a scribble in my sketchbooks, it's not something that I've embraced for a lot of my life. I've always been a scribbler. And when I was doing one of those courses, the illustration courses that I did in 2023, they got you to kind of delve into your past, like finding key memories, things that have made you you. And I didn't realise until I was doing that task that there was a key moment in my childhood. And if you've watched me before, you've probably heard me talk about it. But there's a key moment in my childhood where I was showing my work to a teacher. I was probably about 8 or 9. And I was showing my work to a teacher to show that I'd finished the work that they'd set. And it obviously involved some kind of drawing. And I remember them saying to me, "It's too scribbly." And I remember him picking apart my work, not like meaning to be cruel, but it stuck with me. And I didn't realise it had stuck with me until I was looking back onto it. But he picked apart and said, "Look, do you see here how you've scribbled one way and then you scribbled the other and then scribbled the other? That's wrong. You need to draw it more like, let's call her Caroline. You need to draw more like Caroline." And Caroline was drawing in such, like, if it worked for her, it worked for her, fine. And it was very neat. The outcome was very neat. But she was getting a pen and she was going from top to bottom in a line. And then next to it, all in a line, staying within the lines, drawing really neat. And that was fine. It looked beautiful. But from that moment, I started to abandon the scribbliness in search of the very, very super neat. And if it wasn't neat, I was scared to show people things. And I took this into my adulthood. So I think the reason I'm telling you this is because it took me into my 40th year to find that scribbles are actually my thing. And I think I get a lot more life and a lot more expression when I do embrace the scribble. It's not necessarily that I try to scribble, it's just when I'm drawing quickly, that's kind of what comes out. But I think I get quite a lot of expression in quick scribbly sketches. That's my thing, obviously, I think. And I know that teacher wasn't trying to be hurtful, but it's amazing the things that you don't realise you're carrying with you until you look back on them. And the offhand comments that someone said to you that might actually form and shape the way that you interact with stuff. So I'm really glad that I did that kind of memory mining task and going back and thinking about the things that have formed my sketchbook practice, because now I can unpick that and I can think, well, I don't want to draw super neat like Caroline because that stresses me out. I can draw neat, I can draw realistically, I have done in the past, but it stresses me out. I don't get enjoyment from it. And that kind of work doesn't spark joy for me, and because it doesn't spark joy, it doesn't spark more work. So I've talked about it before when I've done a video, I'll try and link it up here, where I compared my work from my 2023 year out, where I was doing illustration courses and I was sketching from life, when I was refinding my scribbly hand, and I compare 1 month of sketches from that year out to all of the sketchbooks that I had from before that year out, and the quantity of work from before my embracing of this scribble was so much lower than it is now. So go and have a look at that video. It's really interesting to see some of the sketches in some of the sketchbooks. They still blow my mind and I still can't believe I did them. There's some of the seagulls. Go and have a look at the seagulls. I'm really proud of them. I'm really impressed with them. And I'd love to be able to do work like that every day. I'd love for that work to generate new work, but it didn't, because the trying to make something really realistic stressed me out and it didn't spark that joy. And I think the key is really finding something that sparks joy, and that will make you want to keep going, because it's addictive. Finding something that makes you happy, finding something, even if it's a scribble, finding that thing that goes, oh yeah, that's how I wanted it to look, makes you happy, makes you want to chase that next feeling like that. And while the more realistic drawings did that for me, when it worked, it was really lovely and really addictive. But then when you're drawing really realistically, if you get one tiny thing wrong, so for example, if you're drawing a person and you're trying to draw super realistically, not like this is an impression of the person I was drawing. If you're drawing super realistically and you get their nose slightly wrong, you notice, because that person then the drawing doesn't look like the person. So it's not very forgiving of someone on their journey to make themselves better. It's not a forgiving process. For me, it wasn't a forgiving process. So So when I was drawing really realistically, when it worked, it was brilliant. But when it didn't work, it hurt so much more than it does now when I'm doing time sketches. Because now I'm doing time sketches, if it doesn't work, I'll just move on to the next 30-second sketch or the next 1-minute sketch. And it hasn't taken me 4 hours to do. But when I was doing something really realistic and like the nose was slightly wrong and it didn't really work, that might have been hours of work that didn't really work. And the low from that wasn't worth the effort. So I didn't do a lot of work after that low. It took my progress was a lot slower when I was trying to do things super neat, super realistic. And if you're on the journey to improve, I do think timing your sketches is a good way to do it. Even if your natural style isn't scribbly, even if you are super neat and you can do realistic drawings, if you can do realistic drawings quickly and easily without that stress, I do still think timing your sketches is really important because it helps you get a volume of work. So if it doesn't work on one sketch, move on to the next one. You've got a reason to, because this was 1 minute or this was 5 minutes, whatever timer you're doing. It's not like I've spent 3 days doing this and I am now emotionally drained. It's helping build your muscle memory. And that's what the time sketching in a sketchbook for me is doing. It's building my muscle memory. So when I do come to sit down and do a more finished illustration, I've got a bigger bank of muscle memory to draw on. But yeah, scribbles aren't, it's not the holy grail. You don't have to draw in scribbles. This is just my natural hand that's coming out. But time sketching has enabled me to unlock my handwriting version of my drawing, which is this. But they might not be yours. If you do time sketching, it might unlock your super neat drawing. And that might be your handwriting version of your drawing. But it's like when you're a kid. And I suppose the whole thing about that teacher, the memory that I have from that teacher telling me to draw like Caroline. It's like when you're a kid and you see that kid in the class who writes really neatly, and maybe they do something really consistently, like put a little circle above all their eyes, and it's really neat and really tidy, and you look at it and you go, I don't know if you were like this, but I was, oh, I am going to try and write like that. And after your first page of writing, your hand goes back to doing your own handwriting. And I think that's what time sketching unlocks. It puts that buffer between you and feeling like your drawing has to look a certain way. Like maybe you've seen a certain style on Instagram that you like, or Pinterest or whatever, and you're trying to emulate it. I mean, we're all influenced by things. It's natural. So you might be trying to draw like someone else, which feels unnatural. But when you time your sketches, you don't have time to think about how am I going to draw it. You've just got 30 seconds to get it down on the page. So it kind of puts a buffer between you and the end result as well, because even if it doesn't turn out right, it was a 30-second drawing or a 1-minute drawing. It's fine, move on to the next one. So it helps your natural handwriting version of your style come out, I think. And that's why I called my drawing club the Scribbles Aloud Drawing Club, because of that memory from the teacher saying, your work's too scribbly, you need to stop scribbling. And I have now fully embraced that. So I've called my drawing club the Scribbles Aloud Drawing Club, because scribbles are 100% allowed. Also, if you'd like to join in the drawing club, you're very welcome. It's part of my Patreon tier as well. I don't mean to keep banging on about Patreon, but if I never mention it, no one's ever going to know. So on my Patreon £1 tier, it's £1 a month. I kept the price low on purpose because I don't think things like this should be available just to people who've got a bunch of disposable money. So it's on the £1 tier. You can get access to a live drawing Zoom every month, recordings of the drawing sessions, so all the drawing sessions going back to when we started them. You get sketchbook tours from me and all the sketchbook tours that I've done previously. You get monthly downloads every month where I do calendars and phone backgrounds and printable note sheets like this one. And yeah, so that's all for £1. It's super flexible. You can keep your membership ticking over month after month if you want to, or you can just stay for 1 month and get all of that stuff in the time that you are a paying member. But no obligation, obviously. The links to all that are in the video description. It's patreon.com/Emma Woodthorpe if you are interested. So maybe the next video will be a more illustrative video and you can watch me draw, but you'll have to join me in the next one to find out. So until then, bye.